This is a Tape Deck podcast.
We are recording.
Oh,
We're
now we
recording
are.
now.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to We'll Run For. This is your host Tom, and with me as always are Erin,
Hello.
Michael,
Hello.
and Diana.
Hey.
I love when Tom just starts cold. Like he's like, oh wait, we're recording. He just
Yeah, like he
runs.
just goes. Everybody else is talking about something else.
Look, when we're ready, we're ready. When you know,
my
you know.
gosh. I see,
Go
I
by
see.
vibes.
How are you guys?
Ow. Great.
We're good.
Good.
Got a lot going on today, right?
Yes, we do.
It's a big day.
Plenty to talk about, and it is a big day because whenever this comes out,
What? Just say we are
next-
recording on the day.
we are recording on
This-
the day right after the virtually live race.
Yes.
Yes.
Some West Coasters may still be out, but it was an awesome event, and we will talk about that a little bit later. But
Mhm.
yes, it's a very good day. Me and Diana are dragging a little bit of butt right now because
Why is that?
because last night we went to see Taylor Swift in Philadelphia, and
Mhm.
we actually got to bed at just before 3 a.m.
I'm actually surprised it was
God.
that early, to be honest. I was waiting for you guys to text this morning and be like, we got in at like 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we were like, it was too hard to get like a hotel. And then we were like, well, can we coordinate with people that are up there? And it just became like a thing. So we were like, we'll
Yeah.
just drive back. But we parked at the live casino. It was the same price as the other parking lot. So it wasn't more expensive. And I know this may be blasphemy, but we left like 30 seconds into our last song so that we beat a little bit of the crowd, so it didn't take us too long to get out of the garage.
That is blasphemy.
But-
I can't believe you.
But I was saying, I actually said this to Tom about how awesome she was and how good she was. But it's been on TikTok and just online so much.
yeah.
Like I feel like the entire show was spoiled a little bit for me.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've seen so much of it, even just from like the Nashville was was that the previous weekend? And I knew a ton of people there, and so I saw a ton of videos from that. So I feel like I was at the Taylor Swift, and last night, and I guess tonight and tomorrow too, because she's in Philly.
Yeah.
And like 90, we're local, so 90% of like my Instagram is there this weekend.
Oh yeah.
So I'm basically going to see it all weekend.
Well, she's not doing a DC show, so everyone going to Philly. You've got
yeah,
Virginia, Delaware,
A lot of-
West
yeah.
Virginia,
yeah,
all of
Maryland.
Pennsylvania, Maryland.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Is she doing a New York show?
Yeah, she's doing a New York show.
Okay. So,
So
at least
Jersey will be
Jersey got
split.
split up between, that. But yeah, I know I saw Violet was up here for it. I saw a lot of people, some of our other listeners. Tim went to the Nashville one. I remember
Tim
seeing
went to the one that got rained out, and he was there until like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Miserable.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of people, all the Swifties. My chiropractor's a Swiftie. I went to see her on Monday, and she was like, yeah, I'm so excited. She's like part of the fan club or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so she apparently didn't get tickets, and somehow they messaged her and like, hey, we have a select few tickets left if you'd like some.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how Tom got him.
So yeah. See?
Yeah, I mean-
See? Pays to be a Swiftie fan club member.
So a little programming note. So we're gonna do, call it a two-parter, but maybe just a long episode that we'll chop up. We're gonna talk about our recent races that we've run.
Yeah, there's been a
Um,
bunch.
Yep. And we have a review that we're going to cover, and then we're going to get into goal getters and the virtually live race recap.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
next week.
we'll release the Goal Getters together with the virtually live recap all in one
next Monday.
And then we're going to take a 1 week off. We had said that we were going to start taking once a month off, and then we sort of never did. So the 29th, Memorial Day, there won't be an episode, but we'll be back the next week with a Inside the Runner Studio, which we actually haven't had for a while because we
Tori,
did a bunch.
we need your picture.
I have her picture.
Oh, good.
I have her picture.
Reaching out here on the podcast.
All good. I have her picture already.
She's going to have another birthday by the time we get it out.
She's been waiting a very long time for her episode to come out. And then we'll be recording some more Inside the Runner Studios coming up. But we will be taking off that Memorial Day. We'll release Tori, and then we'll be back that following week with a regular episode. So.
Tori's now 30 years old. She's had 6 birthdays or whatever number of birthdays since she recorded that episode.
I love it.
I'm sorry. It's just the way that it works.
No. And that's actually perfect because we actually registered for Broad Street, the 10 mile, or not Broad Street, Baltimore 10 miler,
Okay.
which I think we were talking about but hadn't committed, and now we're committed. So we'll have a race recap, and I haven't done that in 4 or 5 years. So
I actually just asked Michael the other day if he thinks that I could get super fast in less than a month. I'm like, do you think I could be really fast in less than a month and do a proof of time?
Just try
I
it. What's
wouldn't
the worst
try
that
and do a
happen?
proof of time at Baltimore. If you want
Is
the
it hilly?
opposite, no. Well, you run 5 miles down a hill and then 5 miles up a hill.
Oh,
It's awful.
so it's
She's selling it really
see,
well.
if it was the other way,
Yeah, it's not.
I could possibly
You
do
run
that.
you run down from the zoo to Lake Montebello, which Dave Thomas Montebello
Dave
Thomas,
Montebello Thomas
yes.
of Wendy's fame.
Yeah, of Wendy's.
Yeah.
just
Oh my god.
The golden arches of Wendy's.
just ridiculous. And then you run back up to the zoo.
Well, we were looking at
Okay.
races for next year, and I tried to convince Erin to do Whiskey Basin.
Oh, what's that?
No,
Wait.
that's not.
Yeah.
Is that Whiskey Basin?
It was Whiskey Basin. I got the wrong one earlier. It's Whiskey
Oh.
Basin, and it's it's a 36-mile race, but it is uphill for 35 of the miles.
Nope.
And then a little bit down for the last mile. And it goes 6,500 feet uphill for
I didn't realize that was
35 miles.
Whiskey Basin.
I'm pretty
'cause that was
sure
one of the
Whiskey
ones that I
Basin.
was like thinking that it fell like in a
Awful.
good time.
Yeah, because it ends at the saloon. That's why I remember now. I'm pretty sure it was Whiskey Basin.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, that's upsetting because
Yeah.
that was on the high on the list of ones
That's
that
a
I
full
was
uphill
thinking
race. I brought
that I
out.
could
I broke
do.
out the elevation map at dinner last night, and it was just a direct line up for the entire map of the race.
Yeah, that's miserable. Well, and like Baltimore, I'm sure people do get PRs there and do get proof
Yeah.
of times there. It would just be
It is a little bit of a
difficult.
hilly area.
like it
yeah,
would just
yeah.
be
So you're saying no, I can't be that
Like-
fast. that-
Well, for
that
proof of
soon.
time, you want a flat. Yeah,
you want like
yeah.
flat or downhill or
We
something.
already talked
Yeah.
about
Gosh.
Broad Street, right?
No,
No,
No, we did talk about Broad Street. Or are we
It's on
going
our
to?
agenda.
It's on our
no,
agenda
it's on our
today.
agenda.
Oh, well then,
Come on, Tom,
look.
get with our agenda.
this is first.
Tom, by the way, Tom confirmed the
We're
agenda
confusing
about
him.
8 times before we started as well. Like he asked like what we were talking about multiple times.
This is
gosh.
what is today's date? 30. This is the 15th,
Oh,
and we're talking about the races.
look. They
The
don't ask.
22nd,
They don't ask.
we'll be talking about virtually
They
live.
don't ask Taylor to build the stage. They just ask her to show up and kill.
Yeah, I guess that's it for the notes. Thought I was going to say something else, but now I can't remember what it was.
No, but
So,
if we sound out of it, it's because we were out late.
well, you guys,
And-
I have no excuse for just not remembering what the hell I was going to say.
And
So,
I'm going to be honest, I drank more than I was planning on drinking, and I'm not doing well.
Things happen.
It's fine.
Like I went out one time to pee, and then I was like, I'll just get one more drink, and I think that one more drink was the mistake.
that's how it happens, though.
Was the mistake?
That is
Was
how
the
it happens.
mistake.
Like that real quick. One more always kills you.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Hey, Michael,
Yeah,
do we have any new 5-star reviews?
we do. We have a new one from Haley Annie 89 on Apple Podcasts. Coach Melrose Disney got me hooked on this show.
Oh.
It's been the only thing I've been listening to going into Med City Half Marathon in Rochester, Minnesota. This podcast is fun. Just keeps me entertained as I'm putting in all these miles for my first marathon in June. Keep up the great work. That's awesome.
I love
Good
that.
luck.
Good luck on that first marathon. They're fun. The first one's always so fun.
I love it.
And definitely not painful.
Let us know how you do.
Yeah, let us know how you do. I also think the way we talk about our runs, I think it honestly gives people confidence because they're like, if these wackos can
I agree.
get through anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
If they're even able to live life,
like it's
I should be able to do anything
be
because
able
they're
to.
just a bunch of dummies.
Should be totally fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Speaking of the much more professional Rise and Run podcast, by the way, I just got into their Facebook group
Mhm.
and I haven't tested the waters of like how much I should be engaging. Like I haven't posted or commented yet, but people keep asking for advice and I want to go in there and be like, listen to the Will Run For podcast. But like, I don't know if they'll think it's funny or like think it's mean. I'm like,
I'm on the Rise and Run page, but I don't think I really ever comment on that.
I don't comment
on their
either. I've
page.
just been seeing stuff, but
Yeah. I lurk. I'm a lurker,
lurker
in
too.
there.
You're a lurker.
I usually give shout outs. Like I'll listen to their episodes and then I'll give like shout outs on their content because they have really good, they have
Yeah.
good guests on, and
Yep.
with the exception of Greg, most of them are really good podcasters.
I thought we weren't trolling Greg anymore.
We'll get into
Now
it.
that you're
Greg
besties.
Greg is one of my
we'll
new
get
favorite.
into it.
He's one of my new favorite
We'll
people.
get into it.
But speaking of trolling, what are we running
Oh.
for this week?
what?
Wait,
Oh. Yeah, no, we were supposed to do this here.
Yeah, this was, yeah.
Speaking
like-
of trolling, like
Trolling?
We're running to troll people, apparently. That's if anything, I feel like aren't we supposed to be doing the opposite?
Yeah.
We're running to support people who are running our virtually live race.
yes, that's true.
Yes.
Like we're running for all of our friends, for everyone out there doing our virtually live.
Amen.
For this community doing amazing things, whether you're walking, you're running, you're biking, you're crawling.
Yeah, we had a bunch of
I
people
don't know
doing
what
all
else.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm actually glad we had this scheduled today because it gave me a reason to get out of bed and actually go for a walk because if this wasn't on calendar, I would probably still be in that bed.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah.
I'm surprised you weren't like, guys, I'm not recording. I'm going back to bed.
Yeah, that's a late night. I would have been dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yep.
I mean, I only got up like 2.5 hours later because Ollie now decided he wants to wake me up at 4:40
Oh,
every single morning.
Lovely.
Yes.
Because my alarm going off at 5 is not good enough for him. It needs to be 4:40 now.
And now he's like doing this weird thing where like there's a window behind our bed and he's like trying to like open the window, like
Bat the blinds.
So he's like batting at the blinds now. And you're like, what is happening?
So now he immediately
Anyway,
gets kicked
The
out.
animals
wasn't
have just
what we were-
become a staple on the show now because they've
Yes.
all gone wild. Like
It's insane. Anyway, the point is that we were actually running for really nice things.
Yeah.
What are we
Yeah.
running for? Anybody want to jump in on that?
So we're all running for one thing.
We are.
Oh,
But I
okay.
didn't know if anybody else wanted to jump in on what I said.
Oh, it was great running with everybody on Virtually Live.
yeah, and I am excited because the walk felt like nothing because we stayed online the entire time we were doing it. So
Yeah.
like
Oh,
the
yeah, so
time
then-
flew by.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'll take
I will
that.
say that is true. Yeah, because we did like 3 miles, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that actually."
Yeah.
And normally a 3-mile walk, you kind of get like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
still going." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into that with the review when we go through it a bit because I have some other comments, but I'm going to save it for the next section.
But yeah, I think
So-
we're all running for the podcast fam today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody who hopped in.
All the
are we
kids,
just
all
gonna
the
jump-
dogs.
No.
Just
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm telling you, I got lots to talk about.
the dinosaurs.
Anybody before we jump into the race reviews got any training updates? Anyone training for anything?
Well, we're training for the Baltimore 10 mile, which I just mentioned. And I just looked and I was like, oh, that's in like 3 weeks. But I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Because we did Broad Street and I didn't run last weekend, but I went on a bunch of really long walks and then I ran during the week and I Pelotoned. And so I'm feeling better. And I've actually been doing a ton of strength training.
Nice.
So if you've been kind of looking at me, following me in the Peloton app, I've been trying to be more consistent. And I was actually talking about this when the group was on for Zoom, where I was talking to my therapist. So I'm also running for therapy because, everyone should be in therapy.
Solid running.
But I've got ADHD and I have a hard time like getting out the door and getting my stuff, just like I'm just so easily distracted where if I'm like getting ready for a run and I'm making my water bottle, all of a sudden, like I spend 30 minutes cleaning the kitchen and then like my whole morning's gone, or I'm like getting dressed and then I want to like clean up like the closet or like whatever it is. So I'm getting super distracted. So one of the things my therapist has me doing is getting like my water bottle the night before and getting like my clothes all laid out. And then the other thing is when I go to the Peloton app, I'll spend forever like trying to find a class where I'm like, oh, do I want like Cody? Do I want Robin? And I spend forever trying to pick what I want to do. So now when we're watching TV the night before, I make a stack. And then I even do a stack for like the days where I'm like running outside, or I'm like, okay, like before I want to run outside, I want to do like a stretch or an arm. And then afterwards, I'm going to do like a 15-minute ab or a 15-minute strength or something like that. And so I add that on the night before. And then it kind of gives me something to actually like be committed to. So I've been doing that. I'm trying it for 2 weeks. I did the clothes in the water bottle for like 2 weeks and I was able to be consistent with that. And now she's like, now I'm adding things on progressively. And she's like, and now I don't like the like picking what you're going to do and deciding what you're going to do. And she's like, and now so like look at the weather on Sunday because like that will affect what you do. So you don't want to make that decision in the morning. Like if you're looking and it says rain on Tuesday, switch your schedule like if you think that's going to happen early. So it's been helping me be consistent. So definitely like training in a different way right now. So it seems to be helping.
Nice. What do you got on calendar, Tom?
Nothing.
10 miler.
Nothing.
We got to do some miles tomorrow.
I'm not registered for the 10 miler.
You did? I thought you said you did. Oh, well, just me.
Wow. There you go.
Just me.
You got Loopy coming at some
Still
point.
Loopy.
So
Looper, and then
I guess we'll get into that conversation when we talk about the Saunter.
Because of his feet, which
I
we'll
would
get to.
I would take a week or two.
Yeah. You don't need to do that right now.
Yeah.
Well,
but
we still have the marathon in calendar for later in the year. So I have to
that's even after. That's actually after Loopy.
I have to start a training cycle, like a running training cycle has to start around June-ish time. So
yeah. Well, you'll be good though because you'll have such a good base that you'll be able to like actually just focus on the running part and not have to worry about building a base up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your concentration, Michael?
Everything's good with my feet now. My toenail fell off.
Good.
With
rest in peace.
I cannot believe that
skin
photo
of my toe.
Never forget.
Well, all the skin was still attached to it.
Yeah.
So that's all good. So I've been running again. I feel good, and I'm obviously getting ready for Loopy Looper. So that's next up.
I was talking to Vanessa. Actually, speaking of things for Tom, I was talking to Vanessa, who was catching up on some of our episodes from Beast Coast Productions, who does Big Woods and the Jersey Devil. And she was talking about Michael's toenails with me for a little while. And then she brought up Tom because we were talking about Tom's feet from the Great Saunter. And she was like, oh, I have a challenge for you guys. I will give away a race entry for Tom to come do Big Woods. 2,000 feet of elevation, half marathon.
Not as technical
Not quite as
Rockin' the
technical as
Knob.
Rockin' the Knob, Tom.
There is a very technical section, but
There's
overall,
a trail that's not a trail.
Overall, not as technical.
It's going to be a nightmare for you, but I think that's why she wants you to do it.
Yeah, I also think we should have a commitment to get Tom trail running shoes so he doesn't do it in hiking boots.
And not hiking boots? That would be a good idea.
Yeah, Vanessa, do you recommend that Tom does it in hiking boots?
But like the other thing about the hiking boots is he just went on a hike a couple weeks ago when I was at springtime with his friends. And he wore like those full, like over the ankle hiking boots and then wore regular running socks with them. So he's like, oh, my heel's all jacked up from the hiking boots. I was like, so you didn't even wear like tall socks?
Oh, no. Yeah, you got to wear tall socks. Yeah.
His feet are a war zone right now. Like from like
I would get
the
like
ankle down.
The Hoka or the Solomon like high top.
Yeah, since you seem to like the high top idea for the ankles.
I think the Speed Goats are going to be the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
They have a high top one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that Brad had on at Knockin' the Knob, right? That I think those are the ones that Melanie sent you the link to, right?
Yes.
And then was really offended when you were like, she's like, I sent you the link, Tom.
She's like, I didn't even tell him just the name. Like I went above and beyond. And then he's like, I bought Pearl Jam tickets instead.
I did.
So Tom, how do we feel about doing Big Woods next year with us?
You know what? I'm in.
Okay.
Wait.
It's in Reading,
is it
Pennsylvania?
It's in Blood.
Is it farther than Rockin' the Knob?
No, it's way closer.
Then I'm
good. It's in Reading. It's right outside Reading. It's south of Reading, so it's actually
like
closer
for distance-wise for them?
For them, yeah.
Reading, Pennsylvania is not that far.
Okay.
From you guys, that's not that far.
And there's a lot of breweries in the area. I feel like we could make a weekend.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's at French Creek, so it's a little south of Reading.
It's in the area, yeah.
But yeah.
You know, it's called Pretzel City.
Delicious.
We've had this conversation before, right?
Yes.
And then Hanover is Snack Town or something, right?
Hanover, Snack Town.
Pretzel City.
Reading's Pretzel City.
Okay.
It's my nickname.
Got it.
Snack Town.
That was Diana's nickname in college.
Oh, gosh.
I'm in. Vanessa, I'm in.
Okay. All right. Quick update on my end. I'm hiring a coach.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I've made the decision that I am unable to do anything on my own anymore. I cannot be left to my own devices, and I'm willing to pay someone money to tell me what to do at this point to get myself motivated, figuring that if I'm paying someone to do so, then I'm going to it's kind of like the Orange Theory thing for me, right? Mm-hmm. Like I went to Orange Theory because it costs a lot of money per month to do.
Yes.
And I didn't miss any classes except for like one or two, like over the entire like year we were doing it. I maybe missed like one class that I wasted. So one, I need the structure. I need someone to sort of like get my mindset back into something structured because I can't seem to like make a plan for myself and stick to it. Two, I need accountability and someone like who can just be like, hey, I logged into this thing and I see that you didn't run today and yell at me.
Good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
So I've decided to hire a coach. I've actually put some feelers out there. I got rejected by a few coaches.
Well, that was only because they were full.
To be fair, one because I wrote that my ultimate goal is like, while right now I'm not like, this isn't my goal. My goal is to get to a strong base of 30 to 35 miles a week over however long it'll take me to do that. But my ultimate goal is to set my eyes back on 100 miles. A few of them just came back and were like, we don't have enough experience to feel like we
which
can.
Which is smart. I'm glad.
Give you, because they're more like marathon training and like that kind of thing. And like they're PR, like a lot of people who are like BQing and like, that's
where I've seen more coaches getting like for speed or qualifying.
It's different.
And so it's different.
Goals. Yeah.
Different goals. And I kind of knew that going into it, like putting out feelers, but I was thinking, like, if I could just at least get started, and if it's not ultimately who's going to work out, like in the end, but I did think if I could find someone who's done ultras, then at least they understand the mindset. So I'm still searching a little bit. I reached out to David and Megan Roach, who are famous coaches actually, and they coach like some pretty big ultra marathoners, and they actually do coach like
Normies?
just like normies. Yeah. But they just had a baby. So he actually emailed me back almost immediately and was like, "Hey, we're just not taking on new clients right now, but here's a name."
Oh,
and then
awesome.
I emailed him back and was like, actually, I was doing some thinking today, and I was thinking that it'd be really nice if I could find a woman who is also a person of color. So he actually connected me with another Asian run coach that he said that he loves. So I reached out to her, and I haven't heard back from her yet, but yeah, it's just one of those things I was thinking about last night. Diversity in this sport isn't great, and I would love to connect with somebody who kind of understands, I don't know, my point of view.
Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, between trail running and honestly to run Disney World, it's very undiverse to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trail running, I think,
we don't talk about that a lot.
Is worse than just like street
100%.
racing. Yeah.
And we don't really talk a lot about, I mean, obviously we joke around about like Race Report or whatever, but we don't talk about it seriously. But I think it being Asian Heritage Month, it's something that's kind of more on my mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Jewish Heritage Month, Snarky Snacker.
Oh, yes. A shout out to Snarky Snacker. It's also Jewish Heritage Month.
Don't leave her out, please.
No, we'll get letters. Just from her, though, multiple.
Strongly worded legal letters.
Yeah, so that's where I am with training, which is basically nowhere because I'm not doing anything on my own.
No,
but I'm going to hire someone to get me there.
But like, I think here's the thing about like training. Like, you have to be ready to start training. Like, you have to do everything you need to do to be ready to make that training successful. Or what happens to, us a lot of the times is we start the training and then it dies off, or like we weren't ready. Or my problem is I try and do everything all at once because I've got all of these different goals. Like, I want to lose some weight. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then I'm like, I'm going to do everything on Monday. And I'm like, not ready to do
And I think that's the thing is I need someone to help me focus on the one thing that at this point, I really do want to get back to running. And I think that once we talk about, like, I did a half marathon, I feel like ready to actually start doing it. But I also, like you said, like, I'm also like, well, I also want to concentrate on nutrition, but I need someone to help me focus on like the right things. Like, yes, while nutrition is probably important to the overall picture, I need someone to be like, okay, we're going to focus on this and then we're going to also like, this is just going to be the secondary thing we're doing.
Yep.
But here's the plan on how to do it, because right now I'm just flailing around.
Yeah. Cause I've got like other things like I'm working with my therapist on, and she's like, you're doing it right now. You're like always trying to do too much at once. Like, do one thing. Like, cause even when I was like starting out that list of like what I need to do before a run, she's like, Diana, getting a water bottle ready the night before is one thing. Like, don't act like it's nothing. She's like, it's one thing that you have to do that you're not doing now, So
and it's done, and then you don't have to think about it in the morning.
So
Oh, I guess I know I talked about, but I've gone back to the City Strides thing, doing all the streets in the towns around here.
Oh, look at you!
And that's kind of been things I've been ticking off since Jack is now done half of our county at this point.
He's like becoming the next Raph to me. Like, right? I get another
IG handle
follow request from like the Camden County Runner or something like that. I'm like,
Jack and Raph are in cahoots. They're in cahoots together.
Their Instagram name.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I haven't seen Raph in a while. He's living it up in San Diego.
Yes, that's nice. Must be nice. I've seen his running or his fitness account. So
I'm actually going to be out there in 2 weeks, 2 weeks,
Ooh,
for
nice.
the ATD conference.
Oh, at the convention center?
Hmm?
In the gas lamp?
Oh, yeah.
Do we want to talk about some races?
Absolutely.
So did we say that we're going to do them in the order in which they happened, or are we going to talk about virtually live
first? Seems to make sense.
Broad Street's up first.
Yep. Yeah. Which we dropped on the ground, so you kind of heard a little bit of
what happened,
little bits and pieces of what happened at the expo, anyway. And then we had a little bit of start line stuff.
A little bit
Michael
Doring
and I
stuff.
cheering, and then it just stopped because it was raining, and
Because
Tom
it was
and
torrential
Diana
downpour.
were like, "F this."
I didn't even take my phone out like the entire race.
You couldn't. Yeah.
Because
no,
it was pouring, and I
you
was
couldn't.
dumb and forgot to put my phone even in like a plastic baggie. So I was like really nervous to take it out of my pocket because it's like in the pocket under the skirt where I was like, it's got at least like a layer of protection. So I didn't want to take it out at all. So I've got
it was
no
just like
photos.
torrential rain too. It wasn't like
yeah,
it was just raining
bad.
and cold.
Anyway, I just just wanted to mention that there was an on the ground in case anyone hasn't listened to it. Go back and you can hear some bits and pieces from the weekend.
Oh, you know what? I can't wait to do it on the ground for Loopy Looper.
Oh, that's gonna be a long
24
one.
hours of on the ground.
24 hours of on the ground.
A whole episode worth.
Dear God.
Anyway, Tom, what were you gonna say?
I loved Broad Street.
Okay.
Everything
It's
about
a fun race.
It's a good logistically. Well, okay. First of all,
I'm surprised you like the logistics.
It's a logistic nightmare if I think about it, but it turned out very good for us because we got a hotel at the Live Hotel Casino, basically at the finish-ish area. So, and we got on maybe one of the first trains.
Oh, that's good.
Which is the easiest way to do it.
So,
even if you have to wait there for a long time.
Yeah, for us, the logistics turned out really well.
Yeah. I actually didn't think it was a bad race logistically. I mean, I guess the only challenge really is that it's the train, because when we do Charles Street, it's the same thing where you park at the finish line, but they do school buses. So they just have...
Was there any school buses this year? Because pre-COVID, they did it both ways.
Not that we saw.
You could either do the train or you could take a bus. Look, but I remember hearing that they may have done away with the buses, and then I wasn't sure if they ever came back.
We didn't see
any, and I honestly can't say if there were or there were not, because I don't know.
We were kind of just in the crowd, and we got
because you used to
be
able to choose.
Yeah, we got right there, got right on the train. Your bibs, your train ticket, so it was free.
Yeah,
you know, took us right to the start. Hung around the start a little bit. It was a little...
I will say logistically for anyone coming in and driving, it's slightly more hectic trying to get parking and all of that. So it was really nice that you guys were able to just park, be right there.
Yeah. That was
and
super
also,
smart.
If you're from Jersey and you try and take the train over from Patco,
and
then try and get onto the Broad Street line part of the way down the line, that can be impossible too, because the trains fill up. You guys took the express one, right?
Yeah.
So it went straight to the finish and didn't.
And we stopped at a couple. Yeah, we stopped at a couple, but not very many. I know there were other buses that were or trains that were stopping more, but we were technically on an express, and it was more full. Like the more you went, but we just jumped on the first train. Like we didn't wait for an express or anything. It just happened to be. We just got on and went. Like.
Yeah.
But no, we came in the day before, right?
Yep.
So the race is on a Sunday. So we came down kind of mid-afternoon on Saturday, and
we went to the expo. We've talked about this. That was a
Philly. What's going on with your expos?
Underwhelming
Philly?
Expos, man. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna look at like I had like stuff I wanted to like look at. I was like, oh, good, it'll be like a nice like race expo.
I don't remember.
That's surprising. It's such a big race. You know?
I'm trying to remember whether or not I've ever been to the Broad Street one, or if someone's always picked up my bib for me.
Yeah. It was just small for how many. I didn't realize. So that's the other thing. I didn't realize how large this race was.
Yeah, 30,000 runners.
It's huge.
It was big.
Yeah.
It was really big. So that's kind of what made me think there should be a different expo. Like I get like a lot of the Baltimore races, other than the Baltimore like marathon weekend, all like Charles Street and a lot of the ones like we do are just Charm City run races that have maybe 10 or 20,000 people in it. They're not big, but there's not an expo for it. They do it at the stores, and then every day of the week, it's a different store that they're at. So like Monday, they're at Annapolis, and Wednesday, they're in Columbia, and Thursday, they're in Frederick. So they just kind of move the bibs around to the different stores in the area. So you just pick which one you want to go to.
Well, I think part of this, the reason why this one isn't put on by somebody. This is literally the Philadelphia Parks and Recreation Department puts on Broad Street Run.
Yeah. And
it's sponsored by IBX and that lower, the whatever, what is it? And Blue Cross
Independence Blue Cross.
Yeah. So I don't know whether it's because it's literally the Parks Department that's putting this race on, whether it's just, that's why it's kind of a smaller feel, like for an expo.
Yeah.
Even though it's at the convention center, it's not like sponsored by like a bunch of running companies and a bunch of like, there's not like a ton, like it's literally the Parks Department.
Yeah. Yeah. So they had kind of like the traditional little booth that they have at all the expo that has like the shoes and like the goos and like all that stuff. And then Charm City Run was there with, it was even a smaller booth than that they had at the Philadelphia Marathon. And then what else did they didn't have much. Yeah, just
they really didn't have much.
Yeah.
Like
nothing
we
to
kind
really
of
write
just
home about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even walk into it, Michael and I, because we stayed outside where we were meeting up with people just to say hi to people, and we had Jen Hall with us and Brianna, so we didn't go inside.
Yeah.
I will say one observation. Just like most races, when you submit what time you think you're going to finish in, they put you in a corral, which is just the way, right? And so,
Tom, how if you want to switch corrals, how does that go?
I was in the pink corral, which is the last corral,
and everybody else was in. I think there were 4 or 5 corrals. I think there might have been 5 corrals. So everybody else was in the second to the last.
Yeah,
like nobody was up like super far ahead.
And I'm like, well, I want to be in that one. And someone was like, just go ask. Jen Hall was like, just go ask. Or you did, or someone did. So I just...
Yeah, because I said that it's there. I think that it's pretty easy to change. And I think Jen Hall was the one who was like, yeah, you just go up there, you ask them, and they are like, okay. And you're like, you didn't believe them. And you're like, where everyone was like, Tom, just go ask. And you're like, okay.
Just like a lot of our listeners know, we base a lot of things off of these Run Disney events, right? And how they handle things. And they are ridiculous about it. So I walk up to this lady and her daughter at like corral placement exchange or something like that. And I'm like, hey, I'd like to be in a different corral. And she was like, which one? And I'm like, gold? And she's like, all right. And she just gives me a gold sticker and I walk away.
Yep.
I could have said whatever the first corral is. I could have been like that one, and she'd probably have given me that sticker.
But like you submit like what your estimated time is. Like they're not asking for a proof of time or anything.
Yeah.
But I will say they do separate the corrals. You don't have to show a bib or anything to get into the corral that we saw, so there wasn't that. But there's clear separation of the corrals. You're in your own pin basically.
Yep.
And then like Run Disney, they do, a rope or whatever across, and then they were releasing them at certain times. A lot of times with the Charm City runs, they give you a corral and they're just kind of more like they do at Shamrock, where it's like loosey-goosey corrals, where it's just a guy with a stick holding up the corral number, and like that's your corral. And then you're, they release them.
I will say, the start line at Broad Street is pretty organized as far as like that's concerned. I agree with that.
But then a bunch of us got dinner and called it an early night. So yeah, and then we already talked a little bit about logistics to getting to the race. I think we made the right decision on where we were staying, and then everyone was nervous because we knew it was supposed to rain. We were watching the weather and it kept changing. It felt like every time we looked, every 10 minutes, it's going to rain the whole time. It's not going to rain at all. It's not going to start till 11. Oh, now we're going to get thunderstorms at 9 a.m. And it was just constantly an influx. So we were like, even in the room that morning, we were like, well, what do we bring? What do we pack? I don't want to waste a poncho. I don't want to waste a Mylar, like whatever we were doing. So the one thing I do regret is I think I had an extra long sleeve shirt that I was going to put in my checked bag. And then I was thinking, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll need that. And I just threw an extra poncho in. And after the race, I was so cold. I wish I had that extra long sleeve because I was soaked. But But we got relatively lucky. It didn't take us long to get up there. The bathroom lines were insane. I do not think they had enough porta potties. That's kind of
That's rough.
my one complaint.
I mean, 30,000 runners. That would be a lot of porta potties you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think they needed even like 10 or 20 more. I feel like would have helped.
Yeah.
Did not seem like there was enough. And we got in the corral, and Ryan and I stopped at the first porta potty that was before even mile 1 because the line was so long. Like we peed like right when we first got there, and then waited in the corral for 45 minutes or so. So when we started, we're like, we have to pee again. And I'm glad we stopped there because every other porta potty line, the entire race was super long. But we did get lucky because it wasn't raining in the corral.
Yes.
That's good that it wasn't raining while you were just standing there.
Because we would have been miserable.
But I got to run with Greg from Rise and Run, and we did a little thing called 20 questions. And so we just went back and forth asking each other questions. The very first question each of us asked each other was, what is your favorite sandwich?
That's because you guys watch too much Colbert.
And our answer.
And what was the answer?
Our answer was exactly the same.
Was it?
Oh.
And we.
Is that when you realized
Are
you were
you the
best
same
friends?
human? Is that what happened?
It was weird because he was like, I really like a Rachel.
What the hell's a Rachel?
What the hell's a Rachel?
You don't know a Rachel?
No, I've never even
No.
been out with you where you've ordered a Rachel.
Do you know what a Reuben is?
Kind
Yeah.
of.
Okay, so a Rachel is like corned beef, like the Thousand Island dressing and coleslaw.
We've been married for years, and I've never seen him order this sandwich ever. Ever.
I've never heard of it, but
I mean, I've never heard. I've heard of the sandwich. I've never heard it referred to as a Rachel.
I love a Rachel. I used to get them at this place called Duesenberg's in Catonsville, Maryland. Until
they had some problematic stuff on the internet pandemic time. They ruined themselves.
The owner of the restaurant got a little racist during pandemic.
Was it on it was on their door?
Yeah.
I remember seeing
and the city basically canceled the restaurant.
I remember the interwebs.
But they made
a
really good sandwich.
But
it was weird because
what is the difference between a Reuben and a Rachel? Okay, apparently it's a thing.
Reuben's got sauerkraut.
But it's a thing.
Rachel's got
coleslaw. That's awful.
It sounds terrible. And again,
I like
never seen him order the sandwich.
Primo's makes the hoagie that has the roast beef with the coleslaw that I like.
Mark is a hoagie on the body.
There's a hoagie.
Hoagie.
But no, like it was really nice talking to Greg. I got to know him. I know what he does for work. I know about his family.
It was very
Did you know
cute.
he has a podcast?
I'm familiar.
He came out. He was like gushing about Greg the entire guy.
It was so nice.
They were
it was
like
so
BFFs.
nice to talk
It
to
was
him.
so
Like
cute.
very nice to spend time with my good friend Greg.
I found out a lot about him, and we were talking about Broadway, and we were talking about this, and we were talking about
music. We were talking about just every subject.
I mean, 10 miles is a decent amount of time to spend with another human while you're trying to slog through
in the
rain.
rain.
So,
yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
And
so
you were doing intervals, right?
We were doing intervals. Yep.
Yeah. So Michael and I took the train over in the morning.
Yep.
And saw you guys all
at City Hall. Standing on the windy side of the buildings, apparently, getting
where it was
blasted in the face by rain when we could have just walked around the corner where there was no wind.
And we weren't sure exactly where you were going to be around City Hall. And I know originally when you told us, because I think there's a funny video of me like yelling about it.
Yes.
Because you told us it was going to be
because
you said you were going to be on the left.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, why would they be on the left when we do intervals so we run on the right? And then you guys were on the right and you had texted me.
Yeah, but nobody gets service at Philly. That is the other thing.
Too many
if you
people
ever
to get
do
service,
Broad Street Run, you do not get service in the city at all that day because there's just too many people and it clogs the cell network.
Yeah.
But where we usually come up from the train, I was expecting that we weren't going to be able to cross the course. So I didn't want to. So that's why I thought we were going to be on that side. But then
we came up on the other side.
We took the train further to the next stop and came up that side instead. So we were on that side. So of course, luckily I'm loud because, it was actually got really hard at some points because we missed a bunch of people. Like we missed Megan.
Yeah,
it was just a swath of people just coming at you all of a sudden. Like when like the heavy amount of people came, and it just happened. I just got real lucky that I saw you.
Yeah.
And I screamed, and then you just come across, you're like yelling, like, what are you doing on this side?
I feel like
because we had crossed over to get to that side of the road. And we were like mad about it. Like we were because we were like not where we wanted to be.
Oh man!
I feel like you guys were annoyed when you saw me and Greg because we did not
stop. Their video was so
funny.
They
didn't stop. They were like, "Now we're going." See it.
We talked to you guys for like 3 minutes. I feel like.
Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't even get a picture, and you're like, bye. I'm like, bye.
Well, and you guys ran into Brianna, right?
Yeah. So I ran with Nicole and Ryan. We were all in the corral and decided that we were going to do our normal 2-in-1 intervals. Tom said he was going to do 30-30s because you weren't feeling 100%. You were a little nervous.
Yeah.
About getting, because you hadn't run in a while. And Greg doesn't run like long intervals like that, right? Doesn't he do like all kinds of crazy Galloway, really short intervals?
Yeah, he does shorter intervals.
Yeah, like the 15 seconds and that kind of stuff,
okay.
right? Yeah. So I think they decided on that. So we were, for the first mile or so, like we were all actually going pretty much the same pace, even with you guys doing the 30-30s. Like I said, Ryan and I stopped to pee. Then I died trying to catch up to everybody because no one slowed down. And right as the corrals were starting to go, it was starting to spit a little bit. And I had shorts and a sparkle skirt on, a tank top, and like a long sleeve Run Disney. And then I was like, well, let me just throw my poncho on. So I had the poncho on for the first couple of miles. About, I don't know, half a mile in, it really started to rain. Like, so it stopped being a sprinkle and became like, oh, it's actually raining now. Yeah. And I made it about another half mile before I got so hot. I just had to like fling the poncho away. I was like sweating. We were dying. And then Ryan was actually smart because when he took his long sleeve off, he kind of rolled it up and then tied it around his waist, where I just like tied mine around my waist. So that was soaked. So after the race, it was unusable.
Oh, God.
But yeah, dripping wet. It rained literally the entire time. And
yeah, the whole time.
And I was just thinking, like, when you guys say it is a downhill course, I've never experienced anything like that with how downhill it is. Because we even talk about Pikes Peak, which is a great 10K here, kind of near Rockville, Maryland, that people use it as a PR race. And I just keep thinking, oh, there's got to be like nothing more downhill than that. And there's some uphills in that one. And here I felt like there were no uphills. I know people were saying that there's slight uphills at certain parts, but it was such
very slight.
It was such a downhill. I didn't even notice the uphill. Like people were like, "Oh, it was right here," and I was like, "Didn't notice it." It was
well, also because I think you run in like Columbia,
yes,
where everything is a freaking hill.
Everything's a hill.
It's like when you go to Philly and there's like a 1% up to the city hall. You're like, I don't like what. What do you mean that's a hill?
That's a hill.
So I feel like that's also part of it, is that like your definition of a hill and flat New Jerseyans' definition of a hill
is slightly different. But there were still, I felt so bad for the volunteers who were out there in the rain. And when you're not moving, I felt like it was cold if you weren't moving.
It was chilly. Especially when there was wind.
And there were some people were still out. So I'm excited to try and do it again on like maybe a year where the weather's a little better. So we have more people out there cheering. But I was impressed with how many people were out there, even with the rain. So we were doing pretty good. Pretty good pace. And then we ran into Brianna around mile 4.5-ish, 4-ish, somewhere in there. She said she heard my voice, obviously. And she said to us, she's like, I'm so glad I found you, because I think she was going in for a PR and she was going to try and do it. But just with like the weather, it like just nothing was going her way. And she said, when I see Erin, I was planning on stopping and just walking to her with the train. Train. And she said, I was just so glad that I found you guys, because then I had someone to walk with and, you know, talk with. And she just switched to our intervals, and it was so great. Like, because I've talked to her before, but it was so great, like getting to spend some time with her, and we were talking about, you know, races we like, and I don't know, it was a really good time running with her. So that was awesome, and I'm glad. I did say at the end of the race that I'm so glad it wasn't a half marathon, because I did not have 3 more miles in me. The last mile, I struggled, where I felt like at the beginning of the race, the miles were flying by, and we were doing like low 12s.
I think that has something to do with the weather. Like at some point when you're in that kind of weather, it's just like it gets exhausting to try and like fight your way through like the rain and any wind. And like, I mean, actually the thing that I think you guys were lucky on is because we were walking in one direction. We're like, thank God they're going the other way, because when we started walking the direction going towards you guys, we're like, oh my God, this wind is insane. They're lucky that the wind is at their backs.
Yeah. So that was good. But yeah, that last mile. And then like the insert of my shoe, and I don't even wear like inserts, but like the inside of my shoe was kind of like crumbling up. And I had to stop like that last mile and fix it. And then I went like 100 more feet, and then it like did it again. So I was like, it's just going to have to be that way. And I will say there was something weird, because I noticed this at the start line and the finish line, that there wasn't an arch. So you weren't ready for it.
That was I was actually going to bring that up, because I was on the Rise and Run chat, and that was one of the things someone had mentioned to me or in that chat, and I like sent pictures of what it normally looks like. Because I've done the race a number of times, and the start. So I don't know whether it was weather related, because that was the other thing we were talking about. Because even in the picture that I have, it's like that kind of almost cardboardy, like plastic cardboard stuff is what it looks like. That is. So like, I wonder whether or not if they just were afraid with the wind, whether it would just like blow and it wasn't like, super secure, or whether that's just where, because it got moved from the Navy Yard and there's no longer 2 distinct sides of the street, and it's like much more open, if they just decided that they weren't going to do that. But yeah, a lot of people were like, I feel like the finish line was super underwhelming, because there was like no arch to go through. You weren't even sure whether you were finished.
And I didn't even realize it was right there, because we'd gotten to a point, and I was like, that last mile, I'm telling you, I was like struggling. Like I was having a hard time like keeping up with like my intervals. Like I just was like, I was done. And we were getting towards where I thought the finish line would be, but I couldn't really tell because my watch had kind of gotten a little out of sync. So it was like 0.3 or 0.4. Like I couldn't tell exactly how far off it was. So I couldn't figure out like how exactly far the finish line was. And I remember everyone was like, okay, we're just going to run to the finish line. And we got to a point where it's like, I don't think I can run anymore. I'm going to take a quick walk break. And Brianna was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to walk for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I'm going to start running again. So like, don't stop for me. And then she kept going. And then I started running again. And then the finish line was like right there. And I was like, that's why she like asked me. Because it was basically on the other side of like a room, how far away I was, but I didn't realize it was. I thought I was getting worried because I didn't see a finish line, that I was too far away from it. And I was like, I don't know how close I am to the finish line.
Yeah.
And I
without
feel like
that visual.
Because I felt miserable. And I don't know why. It had to have been the weather, because we had done springtime, and then there was one weekend off, and then it was Broad Street.
Yeah.
So I had just done 10 miles. Cool.
3 things real quick about Broad Street. 1, the whole city really comes out for that race. Yeah. It's like the people's race.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. Like the entire thing was kind of lined with people.
Yeah.
And the weather was terrible. And they were still out.
Did they have the temple band out?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Second thing, and this really puts like the kind of humanity focus on these kind of large scale running races. And I hadn't seen this before. and I've run a bunch of races with thousands of people, but around mile 6, we saw someone getting chest compressions in the middle of the street, surrounded by people. And like an ambulance was coming up behind us. So everybody had to get out of the way and we all got on the side. And then the vibe, because it's a party vibe. That's like a party race for like fast party race, right? Like, it's very jovial.
Yes.
The vibe right there was just somber. Like no one was talking.
Yeah.
It was like I was watching this person do active chest compressions, and then like some people, because humanity's disgusting sometimes, were like starting to pick up their phones to film.
Yeah.
And I started yelling at a couple people, "Put down your phone. It's not the time." And you know me, I'm like obnoxious on social media and taking photos of everything. And I'm like, this is not a thing that you need to be doing. Like this person needs help.
Not.
I don't know how that person turned out. I really hope they turned out okay, but that was scary.
Was something else that came up. They saw on there was a Facebook group that said that they were fine.
Good.
That they were at the hospital in stable condition.
Yeah, which is weird because I think we saw the same person, but when we saw the person, it looked like they had just fallen and like gashed their face is what it looked like. And I think it was, I feel like a little closer to the end. I think it was like 7.5
I think
or somewhere.
Greg had said mile 8.
Yeah.
Mile 8. Okay.
It was closer to
I'm not good on facts, but that just scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
I understand.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
because it was after where we were, and we were at mile 6. So yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, we got a late checkout from the hotel, so we got to go back to the hotel and shower and get dry.
So good. Nice hot shower.
I needed it.
I'm telling you, the logistics turned out very well in our favor that weekend.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
We did do a fireball shot. Someone was giving out those mini bottles of Fireball. We got the last one in the guy's bucket, so the 4 of us split it. So we all had kind of like mini baby shot. There was no beer on the course, and I'm wondering if that's because it was raining.
Yes, 100%, because there's always beer on that course.
Trying to think. I don't know. I would love to do that again, and I can see why people would do that as a PR race. I was thinking, like, if I didn't feel like garbage and the weather wasn't what it was, I was like, I might be able to get a 10-miler like PR here.
Yeah, but I will say the thing about a 10-miler PR, and actually, I mean, yes and no, because I was at one point my 10-miler PR. The hard part about getting a 10-miler PR is the beginning is a lot. When you're trying to actually go fast, it's very crowded, and there's a lot of weaving in and out when you're trying to actually like go a pace.
Yeah.
I don't know what your problem is. You could have literally just gone up and been like, put me in the first corral.
That's true. I also feel like because of the vibe at that race, you could also really do it as like a fun party run. So it's kind of what your goals are.
I've done it as both. Tom, you had suggested doing some ratings. We want to do this like super fast though, because we're already.
Yeah, we have the Great Saunter.
Yeah, we're still.
I forget what I said. Okay, so
Tom had an idea
based off of the each part. So rating the expo. What would you give it? What do you want to do? 1 through 5.
Or just give it an arbitrary thing.
Is 1 the first? Is 1 the best?
1 is bad.
1 is bad.
Okay.
5 is good.
Like if we're going 1 to 5
1
star
stars
reviews.
to 5 stars.
All right. Expo 2.
Okay. Start line area.
3. It was
getting to the start / start line.
Like 3. It's fine.
Okay. The race itself.
4, only because it was raining.
Okay.
Fair.
The finish line area / finish line festival.
4, only because it was raining, because I could see that would be a really fun finish line festival.
Okay. And your overall rating of the entire race, and would you recommend, as in, like, would you recommend this? 5 would be like the strongest recommendation. You absolutely have to do this race, even though these other pieces were maybe subpar.
4.
Okay.
It's solid. I definitely recommend it.
Diana, do you want to talk about your Fiesta 5K / taco
formerly
race?
Known as the taco race.
Formerly known as
because it was like a Cinco De Mayo race. So we signed
Michael
up.
Taco race.
I signed up for this Fiesta 5K on a whim
while we were standing in line for Iron Hill Brewery.
Yeah, like we were just waiting for an hour. And then I was like, I keep getting advertised this race. It says it's the first year it's going on. It's offered by like the Navy, basically, in Annapolis, or I don't know. Guys, don't come at me. I don't understand any of this. Like, whatever the organization is. So it's kind of right off base. And Nicole and Ryan were like, oh, yeah, we'll do it because it's on Cinco de Mayo, and then we'll go get dinner afterwards. So we signed up for this really cute race. Hardly anybody was there. I would say less than 100 people did it, which is always scary when you show up at a race. You're like, oh my God. Lots of kids. But it was $25. We got a shirt, a really cute shirt that had like a sugar skull on it for Cinco de Mayo. And the eyes are little anchors.
Oh.
Aw.
It was so cute. In the back says, we'll run for tacos, which I loved. And it had like a really nice, legit medal.
Okay.
And like you got like a bag of random crap. Like it had like an extra t-shirt from like a sponsor, and it had like cookies in it and cups and like all kinds of stuff. So they were giving you out tons of stuff. And then the other thing is everyone that registered got put into like a random drawing that won something. And of course, Ryan, and I keep joking that he's got a horseshoe literally shoved up his butt right now.
Oh my God.
Because he won when we did the Easter egg run at Charm City Run. He won a new pair of Brooks because he found the egg. And then he'd won like the lottery and won like 10 grand in the lottery or some crazy net meth like 2 weeks before. So like all of a sudden we're walking by and we're like, we're not going to be on the list. And there, Ryan's name right in the middle. He won like a camelback belt that had like the water bottles and everything on it. So like a $50 water belt. But they had like all this camping gear you could have won, like tickets to Busch Gardens. So they weren't, like cheapo prizes. So they had that. Yeah. The other thing is then they had like little booths set up. You could do it before and or after the race, where they had like a winery there, or they just gone and like bought a bunch of booze. And you had like little margarita samples and little tequila samples that you could do. All this was $25.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
It was not timed. And it was just like a little out and back next to a golf course.
Okay.
I don't even think it was like on our watches. We were like, this wasn't 3.1.
Does this race warrant ratings?
I don't know if it warrants ratings, but I would do it again.
Okay.
Because it was really cute. It was a 5 p.m. It would have been like if I didn't leave work early, it would have been a little difficult logistically to get to because I think it started at 5:30.
Okay.
Like down in Annapolis.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little early for.
Yeah.
I forgot. Did you say how much it was?
It was $25.
Yeah. That amount of money for that good swag?
Yeah.
Like, that's what keeps you coming back.
And it was like a custom design shirt. It wasn't like they found like a taco and like threw it on a like it like was customized like for Annapolis and the Navy. Like someone thought really hard about it. It like someone put a lot of love into this little baby race.
Nice.
Very cute.
Nice.
And I'm glad they did not check IDs because I left my full purse at home.
Whoops.
Full purse. And we went to dinner.
We know that you should have gotten carded because you look like you're 22.
Yeah, I can't believe they served me alcohol.
Very youthful.
But we went out to dinner afterwards, and I was like, "Did they take Apple Pay or Ryan Pay? Because I do not have a wallet." So yeah, then we went and got tacos, and it was a glorious Cinco de Mayo.
Nice.
Yeah, but I loved it. I would do it if they do it again next year, we would do it because it was just kind of like a cute little race.
Diana ran 5 miles. Erin got really drunk on margaritas really quickly.
Ooh.
It's pretty much what happened.
Sometimes they hit quickly.
Sometimes they hit quicker than other times.
We watched them make these margaritas, and it was like juice, like the mix. But he was like pouring like double, like with one in one hand and one in the other hand. And he was just pouring, but it was like equal parts because we were watching it. And then at the end, he was only using the tequila. So on the top, there was like a major tequila floater. Boop. I was like, oh, this is going to be trouble. I take the first sip and I'm like, that's basically doing a shot of tequila.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
That first sip.
So a friend of mine from college, Chris, he lives in Brooklyn and he is into map making,
Cartography.
And he got hooked up with the Shore Walkers of New York City and their event called the Great Saunter, which is 36 years old. It's been going on for quite a long time.
Which is
crazy. I didn't realize how long that had been.
Yeah.
I had never heard of it. And then I've got a few teammates that actually are in New York that like live in the city. And I was asking everyone and no one had ever heard of it. So it must be very niche.
It's got to be because it's really it was a really cool event. So I'll try to move through it pretty quickly.
No, there's good details. You don't have to move forward too quickly.
Well, I mentioned Chris because he also made the interactive map that you could pull up on your phone that would track you and show you where you were. So like
he did that for the race itself?
He did that for the race.
Oh, okay.
So we kept.
So he's like involved in like the race people. Yeah,
we kept meeting different people in that organization, and we're like, "This is the map maker," and everybody he was like a celebrity. So that was really cool. But basically, it's supposed to be a 32-mile walk around the perimeter of the island of Manhattan. And there's always construction and there's a lot of footbridges and a lot of things that are shut down. So like it actually turned out to be about 35-ish miles, which is fine, but that's still, I don't know. That's a lot of walking.
More than 32.
It's a lot of walking.
It's a lot of walking.
So basically the route is you start at Wall Street, you go down to Battery Park, and then you go up the east side all the way to the top of Manhattan. Mm-hmm. So it's 207 streets basically. And you're really just on the coast the entire time. It was also a beautiful day in New York City, so all of the runners, all of the walkers, all of the bikers were all sharing this one path.
Yeah.
So it was very congested.
I would bet, yeah. Yeah, because it was really nice out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. You guys, I mean, honestly, it looks like you guys could not have asked for a better weather day.
It was perfect. And then you hit the midway point, and it's like in this really nice park. We had lunch there, and then you cross over and through Harlem and then start going south on the east side. And now that side, there's a lot more highway. And there's a lot of construction. So we would be on the water and then we'd have to cut over into the city, go a couple blocks, cut back out to the water, go a couple blocks, cut back into the city. So there was a lot of switchbacks over these little pedestrian bridges. And that's really what added the additional 3 miles of distance.
Gotcha.
But overall, I mean, it was a really cool event. It was definitely a walk. We averaged about a 20-minute mile, which I think was fine. It took us 12 hours to do. We were moving for 12 hours, even though we would stop every once in a while and like we changed our socks a couple times. And, I was amazed at how much water and Gatorade I was taking in.
Yeah.
Like,
even though you're walking, you're still like
I couldn't get enough, like, honestly. Yep. And yeah, we had to stop at several bodegas, which is nice because you're in a city. Like you you can get supplies.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry everything because there's a bodega on every corner that you can stop at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our friend Donna, she did it, and she actually did it because I talked about it on our podcast, and she looked it up, and she was like, that looks cool. And she was looking for some sort of event to do with her sister.
Okay. I was wondering how Donna ended up finding out about it because she hadn't mentioned that to the podcast at all. So I wasn't sure how she had found it, whether it was something her sister had found and she ran, like it was just a random thing that you guys ended up doing together, or like how that ended up happening.
No, she was looking for something to do with her sister, like a race or like something. And her sister's, I don't think a runner like Donna is really.
Yeah.
And so this is something they could do together. So they did it. And shockingly, Donna is in all of the publications. I got my email yesterday about race photos.
That's all Donna.
Way.
Donna's in the email.
Weird that Donna, of all people,
This
would
is
be
shocking.
the most photogenic human
Shocking.
that's ever
I'm just
existed.
saying, not to put her on blast, but yeah. So of course, but no, it was really good. But
They didn't have you in your cut. Tom sends me what he's wearing for this thing.
look, I had no
I see
idea.
a picture of him in the morning. He's got on a cotton t-shirt and like cargo shorts.
Oh God.
Which didn't impact me in the slightest.
And then Chris wore jeans.
Oh, that's not bad. The
Which
shorts
didn't impact him.
yeah.
It was fine.
It's so weird. I was like, I take the dog for a walk and I've got full workout gear on. I'm like, what?
I didn't know. I had no idea what to wear. I didn't really know how to train for it. But
Just walk a lot.
just walk a lot. However, at around mile 16, I start getting a little bit of heat in these hot spots on the bottom of my feet.
Boy.
And then I changed my socks, and I think I'm okay. And then the hot spots started coming on real bad.
Yeah.
And then the blisters just came, like they came for me.
Yeah.
And so for like the last 10 miles,
I would have stopped.
I was walking on really bad hot spot blisters all over my feet.
The entire pad of his foot underneath his toe on one of his feet was a blister. It was a blister that was like 4 inches across. Like,
well,
it was across his
what
entire foot.
Michael's was.
That was
like
same,
it's the same thing.
Similar.
And when I was talking to Vanessa just in general about you guys the other day, that was one of the things she said. Even like she has done 100 miles running and never gotten a blister the way she has when she's
walking is harder
on pavement.
Yeah,
like just walking. She's like, walking is what causes blisters. There's like, she's like, I don't think I've found a way yet to avoid blisters on the bottom of your feet like that
while walking.
So apparently that's just the thing.
I would have just stopped. Did Chris have blisters?
No.
I'm just
Did you lube your feet really well?
I did.
Maybe
I guess they were just sweating and
before loopy I would buy some good socks, like some good hiking socks or running socks.
I have plenty of like Balegas and like yeah, I because I usually don't get blisters like that, but they just, I don't know, it was bad.
Do you tie your shoes differently for walking versus running?
Walking versus running you might need to make them a little tighter
to keep, because I noticed, because we were talking about it the other day, I noticed when I'm walking the shoe slides a little more, like you can actually feel some
that could be it, actually, to be honest. That really could.
Yeah.
It might be something to play around with before loopy, like especially tighten the front, because I usually when I'm running leave like down by my toes a little looser.
Yeah, because your feet are going to swell.
Yeah. And then when I'm walking, I need them tighter down there because of the movement. Your feet are actually moving in the shoes just because it'll stride, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think what did me in on Jersey Devil, but yeah.
You and your all of you on your feet.
It was so it was a really cool event.
Chris's wife, I don't know if he talked about this, is a foot surgeon.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
So she had a station, right? And then on course, and then she helped you after the race. So what was she doing?
So at the midpoint, she was like dressing people's feet and like taking care of blisters and wrapping stuff. And that was really awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it was good. It was good publicity for her. And then like when I stayed with them, and when I was back at their place afterwards, like it's like 10 p.m. at night and she's popping my blisters and wrapping my feet.
That's nice.
That's nice because when Michael got them on his feet, I was like, get them the F away from me. I do not want to see your feet. They're disgusting. I'm not helping you pop anything.
Yeah. Yep. I wouldn't have.
What else can I say?
I don't know. I'm always tempted to just send her photos of my feet to ask about stuff. like, I don't know, I had kind of like a weird nail where I was like, oh, I should send a photo of this to Joanne. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to like send this woman pictures of my feet. I'm sure she gets it a lot. I've got to charge for that.
Oh, you got a certificate?
Yep.
I did get a certificate. It was...
My thoughts on certificates have not changed.
Well, I was talking to Chris. And I was like, you could really help them beef this up because these bibs were not chipped. They know how many people signed up, but they have no idea how many people started or finished. Like, there's no logistics to it at all.
Yeah, I guess that's just the nature of that kind of thing. It's more of a loosely organized
it's a saunter
event. Yeah.
But they had over 100 volunteers, like, at different mile markers throughout the whole course.
Wow.
And, like, it was very well run. I don't know if I would do it again. It might be a one and done situation just because I wanted
Feels
the
like a fun thing
experience
to try, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was anybody running it or was everyone walking it?
No, everyone was pretty much walking it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of the point, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're sauntering, you're not running.
Yeah.
One part, though, when we were kind of getting towards the end, like near the Manhattan Bridge, there's this boat dock area where I guess all the booze cruises come in and out of.
Oh, God.
So we walked through this parking lot on the water with a ton of drunk people, either getting drunk or had gotten drunk and just sitting in the parking lot waiting on their boat or their Ubers. And we're just hobbling through this crowd of drunken people. We were like, this is awesome.
Yep.
Oh my God.
But
I'm super proud of you because
would you
recommend
it? Oh yeah.
I'd recommend it.
Recommend it to other people.
I'd 100% recommend it because you saw parts of New York City that you may never see or never knew existed. And I think it was just for the experience, it's definitely worth it.
Okay.
It was my first ultra distance.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which Michael and I stand by that when I messaged you and said ultra marathoner, we stand by that statement.
Mm-hmm.
But then you said that you would discuss this on the podcast, and I am interested to hear why.
So I think it comes down to what kind of event it was and what I set out to do. Like, I didn't care about I did care about the time because we wanted to finish it in the 12-hour allotted time.
Yeah.
But, like, I wasn't trying to get better than that. Like, it is.
That's fine.
It is definitely an ultra distance. 100% it's an ultra distance. Would I call myself an ultra marathoner? It wasn't an ultra marathon. It wasn't branded like that. So I don't know that I would call it that. But that's not taking anything away from me. I'm saying that's not taking anything away from me.
I feel like they come in so many different shapes that, because I mean,
whether or not it's branded or not doesn't mean any. I don't know. I sort of disagree with you on that. I mean, a 24-hour race or even a 12-hour race, 6-hour race, whatever you want to call it, isn't necessarily branded as a ultra marathon because it's kind of like you do whatever distance you want to do in that amount of time. And some people go 20 miles, some people go 50 miles.
But I will say, and I think the distinction that I'm making in my mind is I was in New York City. I don't have to manage fueling. I don't have to manage
doesn't
water.
Matter,
like,
I mean, you got track ultras, you got looped ultras, you have
I don't know,
all kinds of. There's so many different stuff. Not everything is like a trail race. There's so many different types. Like a track ultra, you're never away from your fueling. You're a quarter mile away at any minute. You know. So I mean, there's one going on right now around here, 24-hour track ultra.
All right,
so,
I'm an ultra marathoner.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Fine.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Yay.
Finally.
Thank you. He's like, mostly because I don't want to hear you assholes talk about this anymore.
Well, I mean, like even at Loopy, if you do whatever, like it's basically the same thing.
What would be the difference if you end up walking for 12 hours at Loopy? Would you consider yourself an ultra marathoner because it's a different branded type race?
In my head, yes, but
because you're running it a little bit or whatever. But
yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, literally at Loopy, there's a Wawa that you can get off course and walk.
Yeah, there is actually.
Can I get a hoagie?
Get a hoagie.
Yeah,
at Wawa.
you can get a hoagie.
And some Gatorade and some water right there. It's no bodega, but it's
It is a Wawa.
It's a Wawa.
Yeah, like
So
right on
it's
the
like
corner.
Right on the corner. Every single loop, if you wanted to, you could go to Wawa.
It's true. It's just right across the street. Yeah, yep.
So it's no different.
That is fair. That is fair.
But I understand what you're saying, which is why I wanted to have that conversation. And when I said it, I knew that you were going to hesitate in actually calling yourself an ultramarathoner.
Is it because you walked? Is that also part of it?
That's part of it.
Because I think an ultra, I think walkers, if you walk the whole thing, it's still an ultra. It's the distance.
Just like
the distance.
my friend,
it is the distance. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, my friend intentionally walked a half marathon, and I still would say she's a half marathoner.
Did the distance.
That's true. That's true. Like
she did it intentionally walking. So
yeah, and I'm not taking anything away from walkers at all.
Yeah, no,
not at all.
Strategy. Yeah,
it's just also the way I think your brain is built in the idea of racing, and I think that there's some people who would argue like. I know that there's some people who get flack for like there was a Ragnar that you're not running it straight through, but altogether you did 30 miles. I don't care. That means you're
all the time,
you're that still did an ultra distance within 24 hours. Like that's still like, I don't know. Like that's like doing a 24-hour race and taking a break in the middle of it and then running again. Like it's still all the same. It's one event and you did an ultra distance.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think walking is sometimes harder.
It's so much harder.
I don't think I would have been I think if I was doing that with you, there would have been portions where I would have been like, I have to run for a little bit.
Just to break it up. Yeah.
I think walking is so much harder.
Yeah.
It's just,
I agree for the whole thing like that.
It's just such different muscles and everything. And how your foot's hit, it's different. It's just,
which is why I think blisters are we've talked about are much more likely during a walk than a run.
Yeah, the blisters are bad.
Yeah.
Also,
they suck.
Like if I did this again, like the learning curve would be huge because I would definitely wear something else.
Yeah.
Not your cargos?
Not my cargo shorts. Even though they didn't bother me at all.
Okay.
I
feel like it's heavy though.
I had trekking poles.
Oh yeah.
But this is the first time I've ever used them.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you've 12 hours of having
your knees after a while.
I was like pushing off and like your wrists and like
your hands.
Like I used my hands, like my like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
if you're not used to it, I agree.
So I would practice with them before I actually did it.
Yeah.
For sure.
I wouldn't carry nearly as much food.
Okay.
Like I had
because you don't need it because you can buy it wherever.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we had that lesson with the poles at one point ourselves where like we hadn't really been practicing with them and then we did a race with them and we were like, ow. Yeah. Let's not do that
because you're just not used to that movement.
And it's just like different, like just because you're swinging your arms more because you're more purposely using like the movement. So your upper body got sore. It's a lot. So but I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm super impressed.
It got real painful at the end.
I'm telling you.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Well, because at one point he was like, I forget exactly what you texted me about struggling or being in pain or something like that. And I was like, well, how much further do you have to go? And I think at that point it was like 8 miles. I was like, that's too much. I was like, it's okay if you just stop. So I'm super proud that you did the whole thing because I totally would have wimped out. Like I would have just been like, Like if I had a blister and I changed my socks and I like saw the size or even the number of blisters, I would have been like, that's it. I'm not. I'm done.
And I think that's the thing. Like I could have easily quit and gotten on any number of pieces of transportation.
Exactly. At
any time.
Yeah.
Readily available.
Yeah,
it's a mental game.
It's always the mental block and the mental game of what can you push your brain through to do. So
see that's when it would have become a physical thing for me though. I feel like
it got demoralizing towards the end. Like it was just a slug fest. Right. It was terrible.
Are you going to work with some poles before Loopy?
I don't know if I need poles for Loopy.
No?
I mean,
do you feel like they helped in the Saunter?
Or Loopy. My thought is to definitely incorporate running into it.
I would Yeah,
the beginning of the race for sure.
Yeah, until you can't. Just do
Yeah.
whatever you can until you can't. Yeah. And then you may be able to again at some point.
It's true.
Yeah.
You could even come back here and sleep for a few hours and then
And
go back in the morning.
You just have to
just do whatever you
want.
want.
Yeah, you just have to give them a heads up at night. That's all.
Yeah.
So what do we got next? The York Half Marathon.
Yeah, I mean, the York Half Marathon. I don't really have a ton to say about it. It was
Was this your secret?
I mean, again,
Yes.
people
I'm
keep saying
just
that,
like, teasing you. I know, like you weren't. Like,
people keep saying that. It was just I didn't announce it because I wanted to be able to quit if I didn't. If I decided I wasn't going to do it, I didn't want people to be like, "Oh, but like you said you were going to do it." Like, I didn't want to hear people.
Nope, I'm with you. I've been
BS
there.
about like So I just had decided
Yeah.
I was quietly going to sign up for this. I had talked to Melanie about it because I knew it was closer to them. I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about signing up in case you are interested." I think part of me, the only reason why I did that too was because I think that I really wanted to commit to something. And I felt like if I had told at least one person who might also then come, I'd be less likely to back out of it if someone else was going to be there.
Yep.
But I also didn't want the pressure of like everyone knowing in case I did just back out of it completely.
Mm-hmm. Well, and how you've been feeling physically and mentally, it's fine to give yourself. I don't think we do it. We don't give ourselves enough grace, and we allow so much grace with other people, but we just don't give it to ourselves. So I think,
agree with that.
Just in general, we all have to.
I
be
had
okay
plans to train much more than I did, and it's fine. We'll talk about it. It went well, but I was genuinely nervous going into this because I really did not get my runs in. I was still Pelotoning a ton. We talked about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still Peloton, like
it's hard to get off
30 to 50 miles a week sometimes because the bike's right there. And like, I just mentally wasn't like in a place where I was like, could get myself out the door. Hence the reason why I'm hiring a coach, hoping that they will get me out the door. So I went into this really not having any clue. I know we did Springtime Surprise. It's a very different kind of mentality to get myself behind doing a Disney 10-miler versus doing an actual race where I know it's small. So it's not like it's going to be like this big race where I could get lost in a crowd. Like there was 400 people.
Yep.
Yeah. It was like 400 people. And, I was nervous, but it was a small race put on by the YMCA. I think the marathon had more people than the half marathon just because it's a BQ course because it's basically on a rail trail.
I was going to say I couldn't tell if it was on a trail or a track, like where it was. Was it like a trail race or a road race?
No, it's considered a road race, but it was like, it's on a rail trail. So part of it's like gravel, but when I say gravel, it's like really like that more compact, like, I don't know, gravel. It's like a road gravel, not like a
gotcha.
Not like a dirt path.
Packed,
like it's really packed down. Yeah. But it's still softer than like asphalt.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, the path that we were on. I went out super conservatively. There's nothing to talk about. There was no expo. It was literally just at the YMCA.
Yeah,
you picked up.
Yeah, you picked up your bib like morning of.
There was really like nothing to talk about. We actually picked it up the day before just because we happened to drive in the night before to stay over. We went and had dinner with Melanie and Jeremy at this really delicious place that I can't remember the name of.
The cutest.
We stayed at the hotel that was like less than a half a mile from the start line. So I pretty much was able to roll out of bed and walk to the start. Matt Frumpa was coming to hang out and cheer, which I thought was really nice of him.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, I guess I'll get there around 6:30." I'm like, "I'm not planning to get there. Start at 7 a.m. I'm not planning to be there until like 6:50." He's like, "Oh,
yeah, like there was no reason to be there.
It's like a tiny race. It's not like this like big start line where you have to worry about parking and like all this other stuff."
Apparently, you've never done a race with Thomas Stover. If there was a race starting at 7, what would the latest you'd want to be there?
Like get to the race?
Yeah,
6.
I rolled up at 6:50.
Erin. I don't know how you live this life.
We left the hotel at 6:40 because I had to walk 10 minutes, and then I
Well, that's at least a little bit of a warm up,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as the actual race goes, it went way better than I expected. I haven't really talked much about my time, even on when I posted on Instagram. I feel like my time is kind of for me. I did better than I expected.
Yeah.
You can go look me up if you're really that interested in it. I went out conservatively because I really didn't think it was gonna pan out the way it did. And by mile 3, I was feeling good. So I just started slowly speeding up. And about halfway through, I raced it. I raced it faster than I expected. And I was like, I'm just going to see, I guess, what I can do. And I spent the last 6 miles going all out at a pace I didn't think I could do for that kind of distance. And then I paid for it because I couldn't walk the next day.
That is true. Yeah.
It was it was first marathon, walking. You should have seen me trying to go up and down stairs. Michael was laughing at me so much because I was like, oh my God. Every time I would move, I was
it was
oh
as bad as me after the Jersey Devil.
I was going to say worse than us after springtime, which hurt us both more than Dopey did.
Yeah. At least I could walk after that. This one, I immediately was like, I can't I blew out my quads.
Oh my God.
But it did show me that it speaks volumes to Pelotoning. And I was talking to Jeremy and Melanie about it afterwards, and Jeremy was like, yeah, it's funny. Biking is great for run training, but running is not good for bike training, which I've never really thought about, but yeah.
I also think that Jeremy just has, I don't even know what to call it. He dances close to death because he does freaking trail biking, which is the scariest thing I could imagine. I think I even said it while we were out hiking together because I saw bike tracks out there, and I was like, I can't believe you do this. It seems so scary to be out there on a bike.
Yeah. I went for a walk with my friend Jen the other day at this. It's well known for its bike trails because it's got a lot of hills, and they've made a lot of the dirt bike people have made these ramps and stuff. And there was one that was straight down. It had a wood platform that you had to that you get speed off of, and then you go straight down. And we're one wrong move, and you are going over those handlebars. There's no way.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely, it's just on the border of death. I just cannot.
But yeah, I will say a lot about the Peloton. Doing a 2 to 3 hour ride will keep your endurance up for sure. I wasn't sure how it would translate to leg speed. Overall, it translated better than I expected. But it also translated in a way that my legs hurt a lot, and I was very, very sore.
It's different muscles.
It's different muscles. And if I had trained run-wise properly, I probably wouldn't have been as sore the next day. So I think it motivated. It was really the thing about it was that I got out of it is that I realized that I'm in a better run place than I thought I was, even though I'm not where I want to be. And I should be able to run a half marathon without feeling like death for 3 days after. So I would like to get back to a place where I could run a half marathon without feeling like death. And it's kind of kicked my butt into thinking about, this is why I'm thinking about the run coach and stuff. Because I think that if I could bring back that consistency, I could get back to a place where a half marathon and even marathon might not hurt the next day.
Yeah. No, and you can get there. And I think we all forget what it was like at the beginning. I remember not even for the first 4, 5, 6 half marathons I did, I was sore after every single one of them. I was
this was a different
limping
sore.
around the house.
This was I could not walk up and down the stairs.
Also, we have like death steps.
Well, there's that too. But I mean, even the next day when we went for that little bit of a shakeout walk, every curb was like torture.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in
we
your
don't
head,
have the safest steps.
In your head, you left it out there, though, right? Like,
I did.
You
I
ran
would
it
say,
hard, and that's good.
I will say that I don't think I could have. Like how I know when I've put it all out there. This is now my new way of knowing is when I cross the finish line. If the person that hands me my medal doesn't look at me and go, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Then I clearly didn't leave it all out there because I crossed the finish line and literally the guy goes to hand me my medal and he's like, the look on his face, he's like, "Are you going to be okay?"
Oh my God. I mean, that happens to Tom a lot. Like, Tom gets pulled aside by the meds a lot after a race.
Because I looked like I was going to hurl. I swear, I just was like...
Not once. Not once has that ever happened to me.
So I've decided that this is like the 4th time it's happened to me in all of my racing career. So I've now decided that is the way I know whether or not I've left it all out there. Is whether the person that hands me my medal.
I don't know if I want to leave it all out there. I want to have some left when I finish.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
my goal.
Yeah.
And then I immediately pet a dog instead of finding Michael. So, it was perfect.
I love it. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
So
and I mean it's so fun to think about because I know we were talking about this like even at the beginning of this year, how when you're coming back from an injury, you just feel like you're never going to get out of it. And I'm hoping like now that you've done this, you're like, oh, there is an end. And that, few months where I couldn't run.
Yeah.
Now I kind of look at it more as,
and I think even up until this point, I've been running like, oh, is that a pain in my leg? Am I gonna upset my leg again? Am I gonna do this again? Am I gonna do that again? So, I mean, I also started acupuncture again, so I'm getting needles put in my body regularly. So hopefully that's going to help some of the dysfunction that they like to tell me that I'm dysfunctional regularly. Yep. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I feel better about where I'm at. I think that it's time to get back at it. And I think my first step is hiring the coach. So
I think that's awesome.
All right. How would you rate this race?
Oh,
1 through 5.
I mean, there was no expo, so I can't really rate that. The race itself was like, I mean, if you're just looking for a fast, flat course, I mean, I would give that a 4 easily. I mean, there really was one. I didn't actually even go to the finish line stuff. Michael probably saw the finish line stuff more than I did.
It's just a small little finish line.
Yeah, it's like
area.
a tiny little
small
YMCA
hometown race.
Yeah, local race.
Yeah, we do the YMCA like turkey trots and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple tables. That was it at the finish.
I mean, there's almost no crowds, but there's only one place you can go, which Michael missed me on the first.
So, yeah, Erin sends Matt the pin for where to go, but then he types in the name instead of just using the pin to get directions and goes to a different parking lot in the rail trail where nobody is running.
All right, Frempa.
The race does not even go to this part of the rail trail. And it is 20 minutes away from where we got to be.
So
or 15.
I get a text like
helpful.
at mile 3-4 from Michael that's like, we're going to miss you. So I'm like running. So I call him and I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's like, we're like 20 minutes away in the wrong place. And I hear Matt in the background, just slow down a little.
But fortunately we were at a spot where like she was going to an out and back and coming back, so we saw her when we got and who was it we were with?
Allie Stover.
Allie, that's it. Yeah.
Allie Stover, Tom's cousin.
What?
No, I've just decided because they have the same last name.
cousin Allie, we call her.
Was out there. She had a Rise and Run shirt on.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
But
we don't really talk to that side of the family.
She also made a Will Run for Erin sign.
Yes,
so that was really sweet of her. She was at Broad Street the week before, but she had a rough time getting in and out of the city. And then also, people meeting strangers is always hard. So her and I had chatted afterwards and she was like, oh, she had mentioned she lived in New York. I was like, oh, I'm doing the half marathon there. So she came out on the course and cheered. I thought that was really sweet.
That's so nice.
So nice.
Yeah.
So we got to meet her. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice little race. So
Yeah.
say.
Melanie ran. She PR'd for a half marathon, but she also only has really done trail.
Melanie.
According to her, she's only done trail races. So
I think this was her first road style
race.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
So,
she loves the woods.
Yeah, she likes the woods. I like the woods too, though, so I understand that. So yeah, I mean, I would give it like a 4, like for being a small hometown type race and the feel of like a really, really runnable like flat course.
Yeah, fast, flat. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that might be a good area to go check out for like a training run or something like that too.
Yeah. It's a nice
and York
rail trail.
York is cute. It's got a cute little downtown.
Yeah, York is close.
Really good food. We went for brunch afterwards. Delicious.
Yep. Nice little area.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do we want to wrap up with something good? I'll go first.
Plan? Is this right? Are we right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go first. Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour. We've now seen it, and we can move on with our lives.
I thought it was really good. I think she puts on an amazing show. I would just say next time I did that, I wouldn't watch so many videos of it before going.
So you didn't know what was coming.
Yeah.
Yep. I will say, and this is a game changer, I bought Loop Experience earplugs because I was a little nervous.
You're old?
Well, because I'm old, and then I was watching TikTok, but like there are all these people in the crowd, and luckily we didn't even have any of these people near us, but that are just kind of obnoxiously like screech singing along with the songs and like legitimately like ruining the concert experience of people around them. Like it's gotten that bad, and there's like huge debate going on right now about concert etiquette and like how the pandemic has ruined society because people don't know how to act right. And people are like, I paid $2,000 for my concert ticket, so I deserve to scream and be obnoxious and ruin the experience of other people. So I was very concerned like that was going to be, it's a whole thing. I'm very deep in a TikTok wormhole about this.
What kind of headphones or what did you buy?
They're Loop earplugs, and they're the experience version. So they're made so you can hear the artist, but you can't really hear what's going on kind of around you. And they were fantastic. And they've got like a little like loop on them, like a ring on them that like sits in your ear. And I loved them. And I heard Taylor and everything perfectly. And I could hear Tom kind of talking to me if he, leaned in. A couple times I had to take it out to hear him. But I loved it, and I'm going to carry them in my purse now for...
These are the ones I looked at for sleeping, actually.
Yeah. So they have ones that are...
the quiet ones.
Quiet ones,
Loop
too.
Quiet. That's why I was a little confused, because when you said Loop, I'm like, I think these are the ones I looked at. Mm-hmm. Instead of using the earplugs I use, I was looking for more permanent ones. But I didn't realize they had different... I'm like looking now, I see they have different ones. Loop Experience versus Loop Quiet versus Loop Engage.
And I don't know... I've just, like, my ears have been ringing a lot, like, after we leave concerts and things like that, and...
Yeah. I mean, it's not good for your hearing overall.
So, I'm just going to bring them from now on, so it was, like, the best investment. But we didn't have... Everyone around us was fantastic. And I got a friendship bracelet, and I was very excited about that. And we got all the merch that we wanted to get. I got the infamous blue crew neck. So, I'm very excited about that. And I thought she put on a great show. And she did a secret song that I wasn't expecting at all. So
nice.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah. These are the ones I thought about buying after our York experience, which let me just tell you is the noisiest town I've ever been in my entire life.
So weirdly loud.
That's so
every
funny.
Car that went by
was loud.
Was like a lawnmower style. Like they decked it out with like these loud engines. There was a random fireworks show at 9:00 at night. It was
10 o'clock.
Insane. 10 o'clock at night. It was an insane. We had neighbors that like their kids run up and down the hallway of the hotel at 11 something.
Absolutely
screaming, slamming doors.
So in the morning when we got up early, I slammed our bathroom door like 4 times because it was right against their wall.
Anyway.
Also, and then speaking of going through something, my something good for this week is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 It was incredible. It's one of the best Marvel movies they've done in years. Part of the issue though with the movie, and I told people with kids, like, you need to see it first before you there is intense animal torture in it. And it's not just one part. So it's not like you can leave for it and come back and just skip that part. And it happens almost immediately, sprinkled throughout the movie. And I don't know, I was like hard crying at various points during the movie. But it's good.
I've actually been told a couple of times, and it's actually part of the reason why I like. I've literally been texted like by many people that I probably will not be able to handle watching the movie.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Like multiple people have texted this to me.
Yeah,
people know that like I am an animal lover.
Yeah, it was.
I'm a little
points that were hard to watch.
Afraid for it.
Yeah, so you have to be kind of in the right mindset for it. It surprised me because there were things that I thought were going to happen that didn't happen, and it was tied up with a bow. But so I loved it.
I almost wish that some people hadn't told me, but I also I appreciate why people were telling me. But at the same time, like, I don't know, now it's made me like not want to go watch the movie.
Yeah, and I've seen this take as well, just like on the internet and stuff, where it's like 50-50 split, where like some people are like, I wish I hadn't have known. And then some people were like, they needed to tell people before they went into this so that they could be ready. So
yeah, but now it's made me like almost not want to watch it because I'm not sure that I can handle it.
Yeah. Nope. It's
and
hard.
I was looking forward to watching it. So now I don't know.
Yeah. But people are saying this makes it the best trilogy in Marvel out of all the Marvel trilogies. I don't agree. I think they're doing like when they brought Andrew Garfield back and then all of a sudden people pretended like they always liked The Amazing Spider-Man when it's like you obviously didn't, and you talked crap on it for years. And now like people are like, I always liked Guardians Volume 2. It's like, no, you didn't. You did not. You did not. So, but yeah, I loved it.
Michael?
Something good is it's festival time around here, so there's constantly festivals around in the streets, in the parks in the area. It's just festival time.
Gosh, I was trying to think of what we've watched.
I don't know. Doctor Who?
No, I'm so mad.
Oh.
I'm mad. Well, we can talk about that after.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening.
I don't get it. Something good because I'm mad at Doctor Who. I mean, Doctor Who is still something good. We're almost done with we're almost caught up to where Michael stopped watching, which was right after the Peter Capaldi error.
That's kind of when I stopped.
Yeah, I didn't even finish Capaldi, the last season of his, actually. I still got to finish that.
So we're in his second season. We're almost done with his second season.
Yeah.
And so I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've at least started liking Capaldi better than I did when he first started. He makes a very good
jarring.
He makes a very good angry Doctor Who. He does a good job of being an angry Doctor Who.
Yeah. He and I also like he's just like annoyed by everything. He's
everything. Yeah.
So, all right, fine. Doctor Who. Doctor Who's still good, even though I'm mad.
What's his face is going to be in the new season when it comes to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I saw.
What is his name?
David Tennant.
Yeah.
No. Leah Michelle's best friend.
Oh, Jonathan Groff.
Oh, really?
Jonathan
he's
Groff.
in it.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
He is in it. Yeah.
Oh, fun. What did we watch with Jonathan Groff recently that I liked?
Oh, Knock at the Cabin.
Oh, yeah, that's on our list. David Bautista.
It was good.
That was actually better than I expected, to be honest, because I'm not a big Shyamalan Ding Dong fan.
The master at work again.
There you go. We watched Signs the other night.
Yes, we did.
Just randomly, and I'm like, I forgot that I really like this kind of style of movie.
It's good.
Yeah,
Gosh.
I like M.
Yeah,
Night mostly. There's a few
I
misses,
don't
but
generally like him, but I did actually like that movie. So,
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. I'm going to wrap us up real quick. I was noticing at the beginning of the Broad Street 10 miler that Albert Einstein has his name on a lot of stuff in Philadelphia. So I can only assume that he's a notable Philadelphian.
Oh my, we had multiple conversations about this.
Um,
He was he like born in Philadelphia? And I was like, Tom,
if you're familiar with Albert Einstein,
his accent would tell you otherwise.
Albert reminds us that once we accept our limits, we go beyond them.
How did you not use a Taylor Swift quote?
That's true. I'm sorry, Taylor.
I'm sorry, Taylor.
Oh God.
We will talk to you all later.
We should play Taylor. Is it Taylor or Shakespeare again?
Oh God, Taylor or Shakespeare is good.